Yo, yo, you see these dreams only seem to manifest when I'm woke. I'll bite the wings off an angel if that shit helps me cope. But on this downhill stream where we tumble and roll, it seems I only find solace in a couple of folks. Yeah man, I'm grown now, I'm trying to move.
Welcome back, 2021. It's been an interesting year so far. We're 28 days into 2021 and we've seen so much happen around the world, so much confusion, so much madness, so much sadness. There's tragedy, there's hope, there's loss, but there is still life. And we have to live it. There's nowhere else to go but here. We can't migrate to another planet, so we have to make the best use of the one that we have. Now, I had initially said that when I started this, I'd be reading a little bit from my book and doing all that, but I would probably still do that, but today is different because I've been off since the 6th. I think the last video I did was on the 6th. I got taken down, my videos got taken down by Facebook, and I was actually suspended from Facebook for quite a while. I literally just got back on today. I guess that's another motivation for making this. But I would also be posting this on Rumble. I'll be posting this on YouTube as always, and on my website, which is www.ea2wo.com. So literally anything that you can find on social media platforms, you can find on my website. Now, remember, this is a labor of love. I'm not asking anybody for anything. I do this because I want to. I find this invigorating and therapeutic for me. It helps me deal with and come to terms with all that is happening and look for ways to improve myself. And who knows, maybe this is some form of posterity and would find somebody or would be useful for somebody somewhere. You know, the whole point of having knowledge and wisdom is to share. And the information that I've accumulated over 50 years now, 50 years plus a couple of months, I believe I have reached the point where I feel it is necessary to share some of that, as it may contribute towards improving somebody else's life. The whole object, the whole point of us being here, the primary purpose of all human beings is to solve problems. When a baby is born, the baby is born crying. That cry is a sign of a problem. The problem is I'm hungry and I need food and I need to alert whoever brought me into this place to feed me. So the baby is asking you, where is my food? And the only way the baby can actually attract your attention is by crying. So from when we are born with the sole purpose of solving problems. Now, as we grow older, the problems evolve, evidently. And as we get more fearful and more confused, things become convoluted in our minds, and then we have to sort of like unlearn what we have learned in order to be able to operate with clarity. Now, I'm saying all this to say this. Regardless of whatever is happening, there is always a solution, and the solution would always present itself. So I want to encourage those who are going through a very difficult time right now, be it economic, be it psychological, be it spiritual, be it physical, to hang in there and dig a little bit deeper, and I'm certain whatever solution you need would manifest, it would make itself available. There are techniques that you can use, affirmations, meditation, prayer, positive thinking, positive feeling, using the law of attraction. All these things are mediums that you can actually use in order to elevate your state of mind to a place where you are more receptive to whatever is out there that is designed for you, whatever is good that is coming to you. So, like I said, it's been a very interesting last 2 weeks. 3 weeks, I'd say. I've been off for about 3 weeks. So it's been a very interesting last 3 weeks where we don't need to really go into all of that right now. This is more of a gist. I just wanted to take today and chin wag with those who listen and feel the connection with me whenever I do these videos. Today, it's really about having some sense of clarity with regards to purpose. Just a sense of clarity with regards to the purpose of being in this situation and trying to deal with this situation and evolve past this situation that we're in, this COVID time. It's quite treacherous. There's a restriction on our freedoms. There is the aspect of having this pandemic or scandemic or whichever one you want to call it hanging over our heads, which has put us in this regimental control structure where most of the things that we took for granted, we now find them very difficult to deal with. Also, it's a situation where the financial challenges are severe because a lot of us cannot work, and even those of us who have businesses, our businesses have our production time and our sales time has been restricted based on the inevitable lockdowns that have been implemented, and everything just looks very gloom, dark, like it's almost as if we don't know what's going to happen and we're just hoping for something to happen in order to alleviate most of these stresses. And those of us who need to travel cannot travel. We have loved ones that we haven't seen. Like me, I have my mother. My mother is far away from me and she's quite old, and I'm worried. I would like to spend some time with her and make sure that she's okay, but these things are difficult to do right now. So we're all dealing with our own situations. I think it is disrespectful to believe that my situation is worse than anybody else's or better. We are all facing our own individual challenges, and I guess it's just a question of how do we cope, how do we adapt, how do we move forward in preparation for a better tomorrow. And this is a central question. This is a question that a few people have asked me, like, okay, what are you doing right now to prepare for a better tomorrow? And what I say is every single day I look for ways to improve myself. That's as they say, the honest truth. I just look for ways to improve myself. I look for situations that get me angst, that get me stressed, and I accept responsibility that I encourage, partake in, and I'm a strong factor that brings about the result of that situation. And so I look at ways that I contribute in my relationships, in my conversations, in my thinking, and I just try and track these things and look for ways to gradually, consistently improve my reaction and my thinking to all these things. So to make it sound a little bit more scientific, I'm taking control of my mind, I'm taking control of my thoughts, I'm taking control of my speech, and I'm taking control of my actions the best way I can, because I can't claim to be totally in control of these factors. I'm just doing the best I can in order to improve the person that I can, and I'm trying to be an example of the future that I want. So one of the first things I did was I took out a notebook and I started writing down what kind of world I'd like to live in and how my presence in that world would be beneficial for the world itself. And I wrote down quite a bit. I came up with a few examples, theories, and ideas on how to improve myself. And like I said, I focus on the basics. I focus on the fundamental, because ultimately my behavior is an indication of the kind of character that I have. My thought would stimulate all of that. And so really I have to go to the position of thinking, what do I think? First of all, how do I think? And then what do I think about me? How do I feel about me? Let me separate these two things. Yeah, the thinking and the feeling, because I don't want to get it don't want to make it clustered. I want it to be clear. I don't want anyone to listen to this and actually leave this confused, because then that defeats the purpose of me doing this in the first place. Now, there's no sound objective to this video. It's just a vibe. I'm just talking. I've been offline for a while, and I just feel like this is the best way to get me back into the groove. Discussing about how I am dealing with this interim period, this COVID interim period, and in anticipation of the kind of future that I want. So, the thinking is the scientific part. The feeling, for me, is the realistic part, because I've always held this view that language itself is corrupt. Because it is man-made, so it is corrupt. The inventors of the language I don't know what their intentions were or are. It's a form of communication, but the most sincere way I can analyze me is by checking how I feel. So I can more or less quantify my feelings into two categories, basic categories. I'm feeling good and I'm not feeling good. So when I'm feeling good, my body, there's a biochemical reaction. My tongue tastes salty and I feel vibrant and alive. When I'm not feeling good, I'm more or less glum, a little bit melancholy. And so I use that in order to measure. And I've been doing this for quite a while. That's how I track. When I'm upset, state of fear, and then my body tells me, even down to my facial expressions and all that, but the feeling inside is what I really use to guide me. And so when I talk about feeling, I'm always talking about the internal conversation and the revelation of my individual state of truth. Yeah? My individual state of truth. That's how I feel about me inside, without looking for words to quantify or rationalize how I just feel. How do I feel like right now? How am I feeling? I'm feeling good. I feel buoyant. I feel vibrant, hence the way I'm talking and everything. I feel excited about who I am. I love the person that I see as I speak. If I'm having a bad day, evidently something would have precipitated that. Then I would have to check and ask myself, the way I feel now, does it serve me? I mean, the situation that I'm facing, does it require me to be in a stressed state of mind? Because that would also affect my health. And at the age I am, I have to be a little bit more focused on how I look after myself. So that's kind of like the process thing that I'm doing right now, the entire process thing that I'm doing of feeling. Now, the thinking part just has to do with the information that I actually process in my head. Let's look for an example. I was having a conversation with my wife the other day, and she said something that was sort of like unnerving. It was a sharp comment that was unnerving, and under normal circumstances I would take offense to that and I would be like, you didn't need to say that. But I realized that she wasn't saying it out of spite. She was just saying it out of habit. It's the way she talks. And if I have been with her for so long and I understand that this is the way she talks, then there's no point in me being upset about the way she talks, simply because the topic that she was addressing wasn't something that put me in an accusatory position. It felt a little bit judgmental. But was it a lie? No. So if I was upset about that, it had to do with, one, my ego, and two, me assuming that the world has to conform to my way of thinking. So the expectation that anything she says has to be for my pleasure and for my satisfaction is a very long stretch of an assumption. So that's the way I processed that. I looked at it and I was like, how does this really affect me? And what's the message here? So I looked for the message and I got the message and I was like, yeah, I think you're right. Maybe I should not do this particular way. And it doesn't really take that much to get to this point. A couple of years ago, maybe that might have ended up in me just walking out or entering some kind of verbal challenge where we would now end up with a small tiff and saying, hey, you don't talk to me like that. But ultimately, why not? Nothing was truly offensive. Everything was actually based on sincerity. It was the way it was expressed. So ultimately, these are changes that I am making. It doesn't look like a big thing, but for me it's a big thing simply because I'm trying to improve who I am so I can interact more, get more information from her, get more information from the people that I interact with, and then improve my own pool of knowledge. Because my circumference of awareness is my circumference of awareness. If I want to increase that circumference of awareness, I have to be more tolerant of information regardless of where and who it comes from. I should not react in ignorance. I should be more receptive. And this is where the wise factor comes in, to open my mind to receive more information, not assuming that my point of view or my perception of the situation is the be-all and end-all. That's something that I struggled with. I am improving simply because I really want to learn more. I want to learn more about myself, and I want to learn more about the world I'm in and everybody that I interact with. So these are some of the things that I'm doing. Now, it might seem like I'm bouncing around a bit, but the gist is still the same. It's about improving who I am, improving the quality of the person that I am. See, now, one of the reasons why this is important is because every community is comprised of individuals that reside within that community. Now, if this community is rife with corruption, then you have to ask yourself, if there are individuals that actually represent this community and those individuals are corrupt, but these people are products of the community, then is it a situation where we are just dealing with the corruption of these individuals, or we are dealing with the moral standing of the entire community? It's very important to actually take a look at this and see, because ultimately we are products of our environment. The environment comprises of individuals that reside within the environment. So if we want to improve the environment, the individuals that reside within the environment have to improve. When the individuals improve, the environment, by virtue of that, improves. The interactions between the people that exist within the environment becomes more constructive because everybody that resides within that environment now thinks in a constructive manner, in a manner and in a way that is beneficial for all those that reside and for the individuals that reside. So it's not a collective decision, it's an individual decision, but guided by a collective moral state of being. Yeah? So if me and the 10 people who are my neighbors decide that this little gated community we live in, that we are going to be polite, helpful, we're going to be we're going to practice the love thy neighbor, not just by talk, by our actions. We're going to look out for each other. We're going to look for ways to encourage and help each other when we are down. We would collectively try and lift the other person up. If we make this individual commitment to ourselves and say, I want to be that kind of person, by virtue of each and every one of us making that personal commitment, the environment will improve. Everyone that resides in there has made the personal commitment to be a better person. And so the entire environment becomes better because of that. We don't have to come together in order to decide collectively to do this when we can do it individually. So one of the problems that I see in the world today is we're always looking for leaders. We're always looking for somebody to guide us to where we need to go. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Wrong with looking for leaders, looking for our Messiah. But I'm saying that if we all took the responsibility to become better people, to become more constructive people, to become more equitable people, then we take the responsibility of leadership ourselves, to lead ourselves first. By virtue of that, the whole world would improve. A lot of these things that put us in the position that we are in, where we rely heavily on administrations in order to, structure our reality, a lot of that will become obsolete because we are all individually structured. We are all people who stand with integrity, who have a good moral guideline, who apply universal logic in our analysis, in the way we think and process, who look out for, who access the most humane part of ourselves, and we act in accord. See, these are the things that we can do individually. When we reach that point where we make that individual commitment, then it becomes easier. We don't need somebody to tell you, don't go there. You already know it's not necessary to go there because there's danger there. And if you go there, then you are responsible for the outcome. You do not shift the blame to somebody else and say, oh, they made me go there. No, I went there because I chose to, and the repercussions of this decision that I've made are mine and mine to bear alone. See, now we're looking at a different reality. We're looking at a different world where we take on the responsibility of being, using the word responsible again, being responsible for our thoughts, speech, and actions, and we don't blame other people for the result of decisions that we choose to make individually. You would actually sit down and consider everything that you say and do before you do it. And you would do that, and with time, it becomes character. It becomes something that you do automatically. So that's the kind of world that I think we deserve to live in. The world is becoming more conscious. People are waking up and realizing that there's a little bit more to the reality that we see. Expectations are no longer based on material acquisition, although that is somewhat necessary to still exist in this reality. But it is finding a greater purpose, a greater meaning for life, for the life that we have, the gift of life, especially when exposed to so much mortality, so much death, like we have experienced over the last few years, with the pandemic, whatever you choose to call it, and the resultant, and a lot of things that have happened. Now all of a sudden you begin to wonder, what is my purpose? Is it to just wake up in the morning, go and sit down at a desk and work for 8 hours and go back home and gorge on television programs that, distract me from using my mind to do anything else, and then repeat the cycle over and over again? It becomes monotonous after a while. And I call it the monotony of continuity. It's like, just repetitive. And all the while you're expecting something different to happen. I'm speaking about myself now, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. And we know that Einstein said that one of the definitions of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again while expecting a different result. So by that, I would term myself as being insane So I'm trying to fix my insanity. There's something on my desk that says, "We are all mad here." And I got this for a specific reason. To remind myself that the world I exist in and the way we conduct ourselves as human beings, human doings, is sure sign of a collective madness. It is almost as if there's a veil that has actually been put over all of our eyes, and we can't see past a certain amount of conscious awareness, if I can use that term. And the objective is to break free of that and find a little bit more inside of me. And the only way to do that is to find me more. Is to actually appreciate and love me more, not to judge me based on standards that have been preset by this society that we live in, but to find the beauty inside of me, to find the love, the joy, the wisdom, the fortitude inside of me. Not to look for my definition outside anymore, but to solidify, crystallize the definition that exists inside and expand on that. This is the objective for me in 2021 going forward. I wouldn't say it hasn't been, it has been, but I reiterate it at the beginning of the year. I tend not to make resolutions, I just make choices. And those choices are based on informed conclusions, after looking at myself. I don't have a bucket list per se. I just know what I would like to do and who I would like to be. And the only person that can tell me about me is me. I have to look inside. There's something in the Bible that says, "Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall be added unto it." Seek first the kingdom of heaven. It's a very interesting scripture, and I always go back to it whenever I feel confused. Why? Because inherent in that is a very powerful message. Now, the first question is, where is the kingdom of heaven? Is it up there? In my opinion, I believe it's in. Because there are other phrases in the Bible that refer to that, if you want to use that book as your guideline, which I do. It's a very, very interesting book. It's something that I always recommend people read seriously. When you seek first the kingdom of heaven and all of its glory, I think that's how the full scripture says, all of its glory. Inside is the only place where the Creator, where God can reside. In my opinion. I'm speaking for me. For me, inside of me is where God, the Creator, will reside, because I am made in the image and likeness of the Creator. And so I am created to be a representation of the Creator. So the only place, let's take human beings, for instance. Anything that we make, let's say we make a telephone, we make a car, anything that we make, it is in the image and likeness of us who are creating that thing that we make. Yeah. But where do we keep the manual on how that thing functions? It's usually on the inside the box, inside the item. It's always inside the package. And so we must have a manual too, something that tells us how to function, because we were created by a Creator. And I think that manual is inside the package and inside us, the state of consciousness, the state of awareness, the state of whatever word we can use to describe it, how we feel about ourselves, where the truth lies. And so, meditation helps, prayer helps, having quiet time helps, thinking helps, exercising those muscles, the mental muscles and the spiritual muscles in order to get stronger is necessary, rather than being distracted and engaging in situations that take you away from where you would like to be. And so this is also a foundational guideline with regards to how to deal with problems and regards to how to find solutions to problems. For me, what has always worked has been going on the inside. Regardless of whatever I'm facing on the outside, I have to make the move in order to fix the situation. But first I have to understand why I am making the move, and I have to understand what kind of move I need to make. And so the only way to do that is to really process and think about what I'm dealing with, and then begin to find alternative ideas and suggestions that would, get the momentum going. And then when that goes, all of a sudden the universe compensates. That's how I've always solved problems. So that is aligned with what we're talking about, and what we're talking about is how to be a better person. Being a better person involves finding out who I am, understanding why I am, and then coming to the conclusion that I can improve the who by doing what exactly, and understanding what the constructive outcome would be based on what I do. I also borrowed those definitions from Neely Fuller's book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept by Neely Fuller. Very interesting book. I highly recommend anyone who can should read it. So, 2021. I remember as a teenager, one of the programs we used to watch on telly was called Space 1999. I never thought, 1999 was like, whoa, we're talking about 1980, 80s, late 80s. And it was like, whoa, Space 1999. And that was like really out there, And now here we are in 2021. And the quality of the relationships man has with man seems to be going in the opposite direction. The advancements in technology would suggest that things would be cheaper, and yet things seem to be going in the opposite direction. The discovery of medicines would suggest that diseases would be less, yet things seem to be going in the opposite direction. So the question is, where's the improvement? It's very visual when you consider what we're doing. I mean, like me making this video and then streaming it using a platform somewhere where you can watch using your telephone, or you can watch using your computer. Yes, there's so many revelations and so many things have been done that have elevated us. But the core, how we treat each other and ourselves, the quality of the foods we eat, the water we drink, the essential services that we depend on, the quality of them, the quality of the people who govern us, the people who are responsible for shaping and maintaining the structure of the societies that we live in, all the infrastructure that surrounds us. We don't seem to be making that much of a progress, even though it appears as if we're making a hell of a lot of progress. That's the difference between movement and momentum. It is not for me to only criticize and talk about doom and gloom, but it is just a question of awareness. if we are better people, everything we do would be better. And the future we walk into would experience a better set of people walking into it. We design the future in the present. If our minds are entrained and aligned with a better future, a prosperous future for our children and their children, like they say in Africa, a man does not plant a tree in order to sit down and enjoy the shade. The shade is for your child, not for you. These are important times. It is when there is a storm, when you're experiencing the storm, if you can remain calm within the storm, then you would be able to navigate your way out of it and prepare for the eventuality of another one coming. A lot of what's happening is happening in plain sight. And I'll say this, I can't talk in depth about some of these things because of the level of censorship that we're experiencing right now. And I want to still have a platform to be able to talk and share my views. That's probably why some of what I'm saying might sound a little bit cryptic and it might sound like I'm bouncing off multiple ideas, but that's just my style. You can just take it in spades, or take a little portion out that makes some sense and use that. You could even watch this and take down some notes, because I'm just vibing. There's no notebook, there's nothing here. I'm just speaking straight from the heart and sharing exactly what's inside of me right now. I'm not doing a structured program. I'm not doing a topic I'm just talking. This particular video, I'll just call it conversation with myself. That's all it is. I'm just having a conversation with myself in front of a camera, trying to understand what's going on and trying to see how I can contribute towards the world being a better place. And the only way I see how is for me to become a better person. It is incumbent on me to improve the quality of self if I want to live in a world that is of a better quality. It is not about identifying those who are making the world worse, because that's not really helping. They would always be there. It's like walking into a forest and trying to find the predators. When you find them, you've just exposed yourself as the next meal that they're going to enjoy. That's not the point. We know they're bad actors. We know they're people who do not have our best interests at heart. They're those who want to govern. They're those who want to control. They're those who want to do all sorts of things. There are many people with different agendas. That's not the point. The question is, individually, us. What do we want? For a minute, a second, a moment, let's forget about everybody else and just look at the man in the mirror. What do you want? What kind of world do you want? What kind of reality are you looking for? Where do you want your children to reside in if you have kids? Which kind of world do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a world consumed with bigotry and prejudice and hatred and disdain and corruption and deceit? Those things may be necessary because some evil is necessary in order to bring forth balance. I'm not one to judge. But, or do you want to live in a world where love really is the paramount, takes precedence, where kindness, altruism, humanity in its essential sense and form are the key things that guide us, that lead us to where we want to go. It doesn't matter what skin color you are, it doesn't matter what your educational level is, All those things are superficial. Those things don't matter. What really matters is how you feel about you. And it's how you feel about you that projects and guides you in terms of how you feel about other people. Because if you truly love yourself, that's all you know. You know love. And so your interaction with other people will be based on what is foundational for you. If you live in a state of fear, fear is what you will attract. I'm not zenning it. I'm not new aging this. I'm not saying, oh, we have to be. No, none of that. I'm just saying, what is the foundation that guides? If your foundation is based on moral integrity, then everything you do, your conduct, would follow suit. If it's about you wanting to get ahead at the behest of others, so be it. It will follow suit. If greed is your motivator, it will follow suit. See, individual responsibility is what the world needs now. Not some government telling you how you're supposed to be or who you're supposed to be. No, that doesn't work. It has never worked. Like I was watching a video with Denzel Washington today, and he says that the government can't regulate love. They can't regulate how you feel about another person. That doesn't work. If me and you are going to stand and talk to each other, look at each other, and actually appreciate the fact that both of us are sharing a moment, it is not based on what some president or head of state is telling us to do. You can't regulate that. You can't tell me how I'm supposed to feel about somebody else. I do that. These are decisions that I have to make. I should be able to look at anybody, black, white, red, green, it doesn't matter, and see the humanity in them as I see in myself. If I have inherent prejudices that are of the extreme, then evidently I would be suspicious of everybody. So the question is, how do I see myself? What is it that I am listening to? Who am I? And am I willing to take responsibility for who I am and work towards improving the quality of mind that I have? Or do I just assume that I don't have that power? These are very challenging times, very interesting times. And the question is how we respond to this unexpected clarion call. They say the darkest part of the night comes just before dawn. I believe dawn will soon break. It might seem exceptionally dark right now, but I believe dawn will soon break. It's just a question of how do we want to see dawn when it breaks? What images do we want to see? How bright do we want it to be? You know, the eye doesn't see. Like in your camera, the lens, you don't see with the lens, it's the aperture at the back. That's where the process is. The eye is just a medium of collecting information. Everything is processed in the brain. So perhaps what you see is not what you're seeing. It is the interpretation you've given to what you see that actually gives that thing its significance. It's an interesting thing to think about. Very interesting thing to think about. But what you feel, now that is truth. What you feel. What do you feel about you? Don't worry about me. What do you feel about you? What do I feel about me? That's what's important. I have to live with me every day, every minute, every second. I have to live with me. So the most important person to know is me. Because I am my ultimate companion. if I spend so much time trying to learn about other people without really knowing who I am, then the impression or the interpretation of myself will be based on external information and not internal confirmation. It's very liberating to do this. I don't know. Yeah, it's very liberating. I don't know how else to put what I'm saying. I'm trying to be as, non as I can. You see, I can't even find the words to actually describe what I'm trying to be. Simply because I'm trying to avoid using certain terminologies and be sure that I don't get knocked off these platforms again. I always said that one of the most dangerous things a person can do is convince themselves of their own lies, which is why I wish I made a pact with myself. I'm not going to lie to myself for any reason. I'll tell myself the truth. Even when I lie to you, I'll tell myself the truth. I'll confess to myself that I'm going to tell you a lie, and I'll lie to you. I'm not saying I don't tell lies. I'm saying that I know when I tell lies, and I know the reason why I'm telling them. I know what the outcome is. I know the purpose of the lie. So I don't delude myself into believing that a lie is true, because a lie, by its very definition, is just the absence of detail of truth. That goes in so many directions that I don't want to pick that up right now. The EA2 philosophy. Well, this has been interesting. I think if I carry on, I'll just keep on rambling because I'll probably be repeating the same thing that I've said. And let's look forward to 2021. I believe that things are going to turn around quite dramatically. Okay, now something else that I had talked about last year, and this was with regards to the Great Reset. The Great Reset. And usually what happens is, if you buy any equipment, your telephone and anything, when things get jumbled up, you press reset. The whole point of resetting is to reset it to factory level, yes, factory standard. So to reset it so it becomes new again. So that means things get messed up, you reset. Now the only reason why they're having this great reset, the answer is in the name. They want to reset everything because we're at the point where things are just going to get imminently worse. The financial situation is probably at its worst. The global finances, we have learned, has just been one big old Ponzi scheme. And here we have the same people who have created the problem have decided that they want to reset and create new problems. So my take on this is, how do you prepare yourself for what's coming? Because I think there's a certain inevitability about this. We can see with the vaccines and with the pandemic and everything that is happening, we can see a lot of us are experiencing a state of, I wouldn't call it hopelessness, but I'll be like helplessness. It's like you don't have the power to change the situation. You just walk into it even though you know it's coming. It's like you're driving your car and you're heading towards the scene of the accident with no ability to navigate away from that particular point that you're heading to. So the question is, do you use something to lessen the impact? So when you hit the wall, even though there's an airbag, there's still something that would cushion you so the hit would not be that significant. And I think there are 7 things that we can do. I've advocated for people to save money in precious metals. I think it's necessary. Gold and silver, 5,000-year-old money. It's tried, tested. All central banks have collect gold, and they use that as the foundation in order to delineate their currency. I still believe in precious metals. I've always said if anybody has the opportunity to have a small farm or have some plants in your house where you can grow some food, it's necessary to stock up on water and some of those supplies that you can double up on just in case. You never know what could happen. Those are your supplies. They're not going to anyone else. So you're not really losing anything. There are so many people that deal with this subject much more intimately. I'm just telling you what I do. It is necessary to take some precautions, regardless of how positive you think or positive you might be thinking or feeling. You have to take certain precautions. Prudence is prudence, And so, like I said, there's an inevitability about this particular situation. The question is, how do we prepare for what may or may not happen, but may seems more likely? And that is entirely up to you and up to the resources that you have available and how you can, maximize those resources and use them in order to sort yourself out. I have been saving in precious metals for quite a while. Regardless of how little I have, I always look for some little trinket to buy in order to keep my money. I keep cash, which I use for day-to-day activities, but any savings I have, I usually put it in precious metals, or if I can afford to buy something that I use in order to produce something, I just buy machinery that I use to produce whatever I need to produce based on my business activities. And so I would strongly advise that you pay a little bit more attention to what's happening. Look for alternative sources of information. Do not, that sounds like an instruction, which is something that I avoid giving. I would strongly recommend that you don't condense your sources of information to mainstream media. That is quite a dangerous thing to do. There are quite a lot of sources out there. Seek out alternative sources of information. Learn more about what's happening. Pay more attention to the nuances, the details, because that's where, like they say, the devil's in the details. That's where most of the things are hidden. I tend to read things 2-3 times in order to get the gist of what they're saying, because most of the people who run the world are very clever with words. They know how to hide things in words using statements that just seem a little bit too complex, and then you just put it down and you're like, why bother? Why I bother? So I know what I'm getting into. Every contract I read intensively. I read it intently too, in order to make sure that I understand exactly what I'm signing up for. So I wish all of you a happy new year and continued success in all your ventures, and happiness, health, wealth, and joy feelings in all that you do. And thank you for your support, those that tune in to listen to me, the videos that I make, or you read the blogs that I write, or the audios that I record on my podcast. I have a few locations where I actually do audio recordings that I publish. I would share that in the show notes as well. And like I said, I would probably put this on YouTube and Rumble, and so I'll keep all the URLs so you can see it. This has been more or less a vibe. It hasn't been anything. It's just trying to get me back up to speed with this form of interaction and share what I'm feeling and what I'm sensing, and some of my perceptions and thoughts. So my thoughts, keeping the word perception, perceptions as well. My thoughts on where we are and possibly where we might be going. One of the things that I do, and I've done for quite a while, is before I go to bed, I usually say a short prayer talking about what I'm grateful for. Those in my life that I'm grateful for, and everything that I'm grateful for, the status that I am and all that, and that usually helps. And in the morning I sort of like repeat that, stay in a state of gratitude, and so it helps to keep my mind adjusted to anything else that I'm going to have to deal with, So these are certain techniques that I use in order to cope and get by. I would be doing more detailed videos about things like that later on as I get more comfortable with sitting down in front of the camera and talking, and while observing the journey through and all the things that are happening both on the left side and on the right side, back, and pay more attention to what's in front. Because like one of my t-shirts says, if you face your past, you back your future. So it's necessary to face the future and know that the past has happened, just learn from it. Okay, so you can, I'm still on Facebook, so Facebook.com/EA2WO.com, Instagram/EA2WO.com. If you want to follow me on social media, please feel free to do that. I publish quotes, notes, and videos like this every now and then. This is a long one, so this might actually be on YouTube and my website, and maybe I'll chop up a few bits and pieces and then put that on Facebook and on other social media platforms. My website is www.ea2wo.com. The graphic will be put up there. If you want to buy any of my t-shirts, unfortunately, right now I cannot deliver the t-shirts outside of Indonesia for some reason. The international shipping costs are astronomically high from here. I'm looking for ways to solving this. Maybe I might print and move to certain spots where it can be ordered. So I'm restricting the orders. But you can see the t-shirts that I make, and we're doing mugs and some other things. But my book you can actually buy. You can buy the e-copy or you can buy the hard copy. That we can send to you anywhere. And you can get that at ea-2.com. ea-2.com. That's my online trading site. Yeah. So apart from that, I look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you very much for your audience. Thank you for subscribing and listening to the ramblings of this semi-insane individual. And I love you. I look forward to seeing you again. God bless you and your family. I wish you health and safety and good fortune, and keep your head up regardless of what's happening. Know that you're not alone. I have started consultations again, but my consultations are paid services, and so I've said that for consultations with regards to what I talk about, strategies with regards to problem solving. I do corporate consultations with regards to businesses and how to structure businesses based on the experiences that I've had. And I also do private consultations with regards to solutions to individual problems, because at some point in time I used to be what you call a life coach, but I don't do that in that particular format. Usually when people come to me with issues that they want to talk about, even though it's personal, it's usually about how I solve problems that I recommend, and if the solutions work, then that's fine. So if you want any private consultation, please, email address is info@ea2wo.com, info@ea2wo.com. You can send an email and we'll set it up either online or in person, and take it from there. Like I said, thanks again for your support, and have a good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.